Hello, everyone. Welcome to our podcast. Going to be a really fun, interesting show today. A few months ago, I had the pleasure of meeting Gary Silman through our now mutual friend, Michael Larkin. And Gary has become a trusted friend. He's known tremendously for his expertise and his integrity in F&I. And the reason I'm so interested for this show today is he has raved incessantly about a gentleman named Michael Tuno who gave him his start in the business. And I'm really interested to hear what Michael has to say about his business, about the state of this industry, and about every other darn thing. So without further ado, Gary Silman, Michael Larkin, myself, Larry Feldman, we welcome Michael Tuno. Michael, tell us about what you're doing these days, what your company is, what you're involved in, and that's all. And we'd love to get to know you a little better. And thank you for being with us today.
Well, great. Thanks for having me. And I do appreciate it. And yes, Gary and I have a long history together that I guess spans a few decades.
And 1997. You hired me.
Quite a long time. And this industry I've been in April 1st. Yeah, will be 40 years. So I've been in this industry from retail. So I started in the car business with a dealer group in the Philadelphia area, the Faulkner organization, still around today. And then I moved on to the banking industry, the banking side, big leasing company in the Philadelphia market back in the day, Fidelcor. They were a pretty large leasing outfit. And then I moved on to Universal Underwriters Group. And shortly after I started, a few years after I started, we were looking to add some talent to the Northeast that I began to manage, the 9 states, Pennsylvania to Maine. And Gary was the best candidate for sure in the Connecticut market. So,
hey, Michael, just a thought. You know, paleontologists, people look back on the dinosaurs. Isn't it interesting to look back on how prevalent these leasing companies were and these banks that and they're gone.
And they're gone. They were huge. I mean, they were huge. They were a regional player. And the way the industry has morphed, it's just kind of where we're ultimately going to head, I guess, in some with some respect or in some angle, moving that along into now Universal Underwriters Group for a decade, and then it just got to be too stifling for an entrepreneur. I would say they weren't even entrepreneurial. So I started an agency in 2003, a general agency to handle F&I products and services, named it World Class Dealer Services, not because I'm egotistical, not because I think I'm the best that there is, simply because I have a pretty intense self-correcting mode that always looks to do better, always looks to make it all that it can be. And I am my own worst critic. I need very little external criticism because I'll self-correct. And out of that really was, how do we become world class? How do we take this notion of being the best at what there is and make it better and continue to do that, constant improvement. And so that really was the kind of the mindset of the branding. Then moved on to a newer business going on. This is our 10th year. It opened its doors in 2015 and started getting some traction in the next 24 months after that, called Armed Resource Group, which grew out of World Class because World Class Dealer Services couldn't keep up with the numerous laws that were being thrown at auto dealers. Just couldn't. So that was one area we couldn't keep up with. The second area we couldn't keep up with, sadly, which is still prevalent, is the high turnover. The turnover in the retail automotive business is 80%. And so what World Class constantly was doing was chasing its tail, trying to train and keep people that were newly hired or newly fired, up to date on what was going on, in addition to the cavalcade of laws that were coming at us. So we threw technology at it. We built a proprietary source code of a learning management system that's framed to mimic what the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau is looking for. Training, policies and procedures, an audit function, and a customer complaint or function that allows documentation for getting in front of the red flags of customers complaining about egregious behavior at dealerships, et cetera. So that's what we built. And so it's been quite the storied 40 years. As I look at the industry, there's really very little that has changed in substance. What has changed is technology has certainly gotten very prominent in the retail marketplace. Back when I started in the 80s, a fax machine was you dialed the phone, you heard a high pitch, a low pitch, and you put the phone on a modem, or you called the credit app in. That was the extent of technology. Now it's abundant, and the world really, including automobiles, is full of technology. So that certainly is one area. And the other area that's changed substantively is the legal environment. There's always been some level of regulatory issues that dealers have to abide by, simply because the F&I office creates a bank for the dealer in the minds of the state and federal regulators, and therefore they have to follow suit in the laws that apply to banks. Dealers make a commission off the retail installment contract or bank contract or leasing agreement. So it's just gotten more and more difficult for dealers to stay on top of the legal requirements, and so we threw technology at it. Now, I said not much has changed except those two things, because to me, what still is job one, whether it's 1980 or 2025, is the customer and how the customer wants to buy is really job one. It's paramount. It's never going to change. And so largely customers tolerate buying a car. And so with the use and the advent of technology, we've now got players out there in the Carvana space trying to challenge used cars, which is really a big profit center for franchise auto dealers. And so the piece that is really important, is never going to change, is making sure your customers are happy, satisfied, and frankly, why wouldn't a business want happy, satisfied customers so they come back and buy again and again and again? And we all know that happy, satisfied customers tell their friends, and when they buy again, they're much more trusting, and generally speaking, it's a much more profitable sale to the retailer than having to establish a relationship from the very first time they ever meet. And so to me, the beauty of what we've done is to, in some cases, kicking and screaming, in other cases, not so much, try to get a culture that's embedded in the dealership that allows for processes that exist today, that they better understand how to deploy, following the law and doing things compliantly in a way that makes the customer feel much more at ease, much more relaxed, much more trusting. And so we just think it's good business. We just think that when a dealership has a good handle on the law, the rules of the road, the rules of the game, and they embed it in their processes, it resonates out to the customer, and the customer welcomes that. The amount of time, money, and effort a dealer has to spend for their reputation is just huge. And so we always try to impress upon our clients and this industry that customers are king. And so we want to make sure that your customers understand how valuable they are to you, Mr. Dealer. So please make sure you understand the rules of the game, follow them, embrace them, embed them in your processes. That's a win-win for everybody. So that kind of mindset has really been governed most of my career for the last, 20, 30 years as I got my feet firmly planted on the ground. But even with some technology, we threw at a selling system that is relatively new, does the same kind of, it makes the same effort to get processes and compliance and enhanced profitability into the dealer's hands in a very efficient way with technology. Business we launched a few years back called Profit Comply, and we're going to relaunch that again with ARM so that the dealer has two methods here of staying on top of the ever-changing legal landscape. Armed, and then Profit Comply to help grow profits within the focus of compliance. So we
Michael, it sounds like it drives you as crazy as it drives me about how short-sighted owners and managers and salespeople are. Not I'm quoting myself, so forgive me, but their customers are not annoyances; they're annuities.
Correct.
They bring so much money in and so much value. When I owned a dealership, when I worked at a dealership, when I work now at dealerships all over the country, it blows my mind that their excuse for not prospecting is, I don't want to miss a customer. Well, how about having the customer walk by everybody else and ask for you because you took the time? You remove all the anxiety, because do we all agree that if car dealers are clicking, it's the best job on earth? It's exciting, it's different, and the money's uncapped. But is there any job on earth worse than a dealership when there's no business? If they broke out of prison and came to a slow dealership, they'd call the federal authorities and say, lock me back up. This is worse.
We agree. Yeah, it's interesting because not only do we, concentrate on fixed and variable operations, but as we're talking about Profit Comply, that's really in a variable operations environment. But listen, when you sell a customer a car and you can retain them in service, what we also know is they're highly likely, if well cared for in service, in the same method as in sales. If they trust you and you do right by them.
Hold on. Gary told me how incredibly bright you are, and from your conversation, we agree. So explain to me why you can go into most dealerships and you see people trying to sell cars and they don't include a service walk into it.
Don't have a good answer. Short-sighted. I mean,
I have the answer.
That's the clue.
The answer, and Gary loves it when I quote Albert Einstein. They asked him what's the difference between genius and stupidity, and he said genius has its limits.
Yeah, well, okay. I agree with that, and I would also add that when the dealer is very mindful of setting it up to succeed in a manner you described. In fact, Profit Comply, part of the training that's embedded in there, includes what you're just mentioning. I mean, this is how the car business really hasn't changed all that much, right? So what we want to make sure we do is introduce a service department so we can keep them coming back time after time after time, not only in service, but also, again, back in sales, right? And so this notion of how the business hasn't really changed all that much, it hasn't. It's some of the feedback we've gotten from the marketplace on the Profit Comply selling system was pretty basic stuff. And we went, yeah. I mean, listen, we're smart with technology. We forget what's important here. And again, I go back to keeping that customer front and center and making sure that customer has a clear understanding of how important they are.
Wait a minute, Michael. I don't mean to interrupt you again, but you're getting my brain to work, or what's left of my brain.
Okay.
Imagine people being dumb enough en masse to complain that it looks pretty simple. Isn't the whole thing to make everything simple?
Yes.
To not have to go through 9 different links to get to what you want?
Yes.
To make things faster?
Yes.
and easier. I just saw
Yes.
the Rolling Stones last year. They're still playing Chuck Berry, which
Yes.
is 2 chords. And you
Yes.
don't even play when you play EDA on the chorus, you leave the D out. Write that down, Larkin. There might be a quiz later on music theory.
I'm gonna hand cramp in this episode.
You're talking musical notes. I don't even know how to spell them, but
So yeah, I would say that what's old is new again, sadly, and technology is going to make it happen quicker, and technology really is faster, better, cheaper. And so here we are in an industry that, faces ever increasing regulatory challenges. And whether there's a D or an R in the White House doesn't really matter, because many of these laws have been on the books for decades. And if the feds aren't going to come after the dealer, the state attorney generals surely are going to pick up the slack.
They're going to go where the money
you pick
is.
your poison. But
Go where the money is.
Yeah, but beyond that, I mean, that's a compelling argument in and of itself. What's even more compelling to me, which I started this, with our conversation, is why wouldn't you want your customer to be treated like the golden goose they are? Why wouldn't you want to understand the rules of the game, the rules of the road, and make sure your customer understands very clearly that you're going to take care of their non-public information, you're going to follow the rules, you're going to be transparent, you're going to help them make a decision not to be sold but to buy, because they understand now, the customer, what the needs that present themselves are in this purchase, and not feel like they have things pushed down their throat. And to me, that's the best way to look at compliance, is what is it that you can do to continue to make that customer feel like they're the goose that lays the golden egg time and time and time again. Because I can't imagine not the alternative, which is now we don't really pay attention, we don't really care, and there's quite a bit of that. Half the marketplace doesn't even have a point person identified as a chief compliance officer. So either they don't care, they don't understand it well enough, but they keep their head in the sand. But if 50% of the market just doesn't pay attention to it, why? And it's any number of reasons, but mostly they don't care or they don't understand it. It's one of those two, generally speaking. And so they hope it goes away. The problem is they've got to embrace it, because it isn't going away. And your customer is the goose that lays the golden egg. And until they can get their arms around all of it, I think they're going to continue to be in a very vulnerable position for companies that can execute on it. And whether they're the Carvanas now that go out and grab franchises, right? So there's that crack in the armor. The franchise laws are going to stand up so long until the consumer isn't going to tolerate it anymore. And to me, I just think it's the best way to do business. Get in front of it. You're in the community. Treat your customer in that community like they're the goose that lays the golden egg. Make sure they understand you care about them. Make sure they understand you have competent people. Make sure they understand that you're there to serve them. And I think that that's a winning formula, period. The days of the highway, rob 'em blind, press hard, there's 5 copies, and we'll mail you your payment booklet are so far removed, but sadly, there's still some operations that behave that way in North America.
And there's operations in North America that aren't crooked.
We agree. We agree.
But some of them are just stupid, Michael.
They're ignorant of it. That's right.
Michael,
that's right,
I'm a little schizophrenic. I'm very crazy, but I'm very meticulous. When people hand me resumes, I still say, is this the right phone number and email? And they look at me like I'm crazy, but 1 out of 7 or 8 go, oh no, I changed that, or there's no underscore. You can walk into most dealerships, trust me, this does not make me happy. They're my brethren. And still see a license laying on the table. Or you're forget about keeping the customer happy, that's paramount. But how about staying in business?
Well, we agree. The way the world has changed, I said earlier about technology, even cars that have all the technology embedded in their functionality. Take the navigation system. When that car gets traded in, we look at it and go, okay, what information is still in that car that now runs the risk of not being purged correctly, and now that's as bad as leaving all those driver's licenses around or anything else, because dealers aren't mindful of that. I mean, we encourage through our training that when the salesperson is selling that customer a new car, that before the keys are turned over from the trade-in, they get back in the trade-in with the customer, have the customer sit there and go through purging and factory resetting that nav system and that address book so that it initializes it and gets rid of all that information. And if that's not going to happen, we have a follow-up to that as, again, part of our training, that in the get ready back to the recon department, that it's done. And there's some businesses out there. I know Italian guy down in, I think he's in the Atlanta area, has a business in the wholesale side for the auctions that tracks all that kind of stuff. But to me, again, let's not get too complicated with this. I mean, we're trading a car in at the dealership. Make sure your customer take that extra time to get rid of all their information so when the car gets traded, he doesn't get traded. And
Michael, and how about telling the customer?
We agree.
I want to take 2 extra minutes to purge this so I keep you
We agree.
That's going to stick.
That is the point. That is the point. That is what we train toward. And so we want to make sure that happens, and it takes but a minute or two as they're helping them clear out the glove box and all the things that they normally would do, right? And so that step, it cements that relationship. And at that point, we also recommend, I'm back to blocking and tackling here, let's not get too complicated about it. Customer's happy. They've got their new car. And then we lose the perfect moment for now asking the customer a simple question. What one person do you know? What one person do you know that I can make as happy as I've made you today with a new vehicle purchase? This referral business that is very lucrative for salespeople in a dealership, if it's asked correctly, as opposed to, do you know anybody who wants to buy a car? And send them my way. We have a bird dog program. We'll give you money. I mean, the mind doesn't work that way. But if I fine-tune my approach and say one person, they're going to come up in their mind with the most likely candidate that they've talked to in their neighborhood, their friends, their family, that's ready to buy a car. Now, imagine this. If you sell 20 or 30 cars a month and you get a referral, a solid referral from every one of them, you've doubled your business. And again, I don't want to sound like this is rocket science, because it isn't. Even the regulatory environment that we operate in, and they're armed, we distill this down from, the lawyer 101 stuff to giving them takeaways that they can go back to their business, back to their dealership, back to their job. This is training that's job specific. If you're a salesman, a lot guy, an accounting person, a sales manager, an F&I manager, a GM, it's job specific. So you take away information that you can directly use on the job without getting caught up in feeling like you're reading, a 1,200-page legal transcript that really doesn't apply to your job. Right? That's the problem with much of our industry. So, we've been able to translate it because of the number of years and the various experience I've had in the retail environment.
Michael, I got a question for you. Oh, go ahead.
Well, hold on. This is important because I think he's proposing something kind of radical. You actually want people to do the right thing all the time so they'll make more money and have less problems.
Correct.
That'll never catch on.
Well, no, what we like to do is we say, here's what we say. We'd like you to own your money, not lease it.
Yep. Mr. Larkin, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Got a quick question for you, and I know, from talking to Gary, and I'm honored to talk to you, what in your mind in the next 5 years is going to change from the actions that are being done now? Because on a daily basis, I hear the car dealers and vendors, they're all talking the same game and talk, but I don't see any action because I'm too close to it. In other words, 5 years from now, what do you see as a daily occurrence that's not happening now? Maybe in compliance or digital, like people like Gary and I have always talked about buying your car on your phone. That's coming, I think.
Oh, it's here. No, it's not. It's here.
Yeah.
It's here.
Right.
And that poses its own risk from a legal standpoint, but I also think that you can leverage that from a relationship standpoint, so it's not transactional, it's relationship driven, so that the goose that lays the golden egg is more golden than the digital goose.
Yeah, that's
and so what I see in 5 years is you've got to take both. First of all, you got to have the right leadership. It always starts from the top. If the top of the house isn't dialed in and committed to this, it doesn't matter. So that would be what I would tell you is always going to be important. 5, 10, 50, doesn't matter the time frame. But I think in the time frame that you've outlined in 5 years, with the confluence of all the moving parts that we have going on, for the benefit of our franchise dealer friends, I think that's kind of the messaging here. Digital is going to continue to play an important role because it can. It's going to get more sophisticated. But at the end of the day, it is my opinion that this is a sophisticated transaction and people are important to the transaction. So I don't think this is ever going to be buying a pair of sneakers online or buying a shirt online. I think that having the skill set of relationship building, trust building, getting to know that community that you work in, the dealership. And I think the way we do that is we get to know these people through one transaction at a time, and that transaction should include making sure you follow the rules of the game and making sure that you understand what's important to that customer. I said it earlier. The customer is king. We often spend too much time talking and not enough time listening. 2 ears, 1 mouth. So we need to understand what the customer's needs are and make sure we address them. You know, part of that profit comply selling system does a walk around on the new vehicle purchase, does a trade walk so they can identify what they liked and didn't like with the customer, so that we can understand the pluses and the minuses of the trade and leverage those to our advantage on the new purchase. But, you know, if we are going to sit here and rattle off product knowledge without a tie back to a benefit, then the customer is just going to look at you like you're from Mars, because the cars are getting more and more sophisticated. So, yeah, the transactional part, maybe the preliminary finance setup, or maybe, you know, searching the inventory. Technology is great for that. My start in this business was I worked in a sales floor that had an up system, and if a customer came in to find out about a car, you gave them a brochure or a booklet because there was nothing online about the car, and that was your customer to work, and you were down for the next till you got to the back of the line. And so you got that customer's name, phone number, and you called them and you stayed in touch with them, and you found out when their birthday was, and you did all the things that this is the people business, right?
Oh, wait a minute, Michael. Even back then, that didn't restrict you if you were prospecting and if you brought your own people in.
No, it did not.
And guess what? I lean on, and I'm not being facetious, I lean on an 100-year-old piece of technology. It's called a phone. And you don't know me that well, but the people that know me will say, call this crazy guy. He actually answers his phone.
Oh, yeah.
Complicated about that?
Nothing whatsoever. Yeah, so I think 5 years from now, I think we see this industry getting even more competitive, but the winners are going to be the winners in this business, the survivors that are thriving, not surviving, thriving, are going to be the businesses that are able to easily have a good marriage of compliance and profitability, both working in harmony
Adaptability.
with great leadership.
Adaptability, Michael.
Yes,
and
sir.
Since you spent some time in Pennsylvania, we'll quote a great man who just passed away, Jerry Butler. Only the strong survive. The people that are strong enough to adapt, right? The survival of the fittest, Darwin's theory. Those that can adapt go forward. My hero Ben Franklin said, "When you're finished changing, you're finished."
Yep.
Hey, listen, guys, we kind of went a little longer than we normally do because it was so much fun listening to Michael. Does anyone have any thoughts? We like to keep it compact, Mike, because unfortunately we're in a world of short attention spans.
We understand.
And we want them to dwell on what the heck you had to say.
Oh, yeah.
Mr. Silman, Mr. Larkin, and Gary, thank you so much for bringing Michael to everyone's attention. Any thoughts, gentlemen? And
I see Gary drilling down. Go for it.
I'm drilling down. Michael has taught me the quote that I live by now: do it right the first time. And we have been trying diligently for many years to get dealers to listen to what we have to say, and they poo-poo it. All right. So now we have technology, we have pathways, we have credible people. I'm looking at 3 guys on here that do the right things, say what they will do, and do what they say. And I'm just saying, for any dealer out there that's listening to us, any GM that's out here, we're going to make your dealerships better. And we're going to make your dealerships operate like they're supposed to. And you can offer products that customers want. You can bring them back into your service drive and celebrate the purchase and look for more business. So with where we are today, I can't be happier to have all of you guys on my team. And we're just bringing solutions to the market that nobody wanted to listen to for 40 years. And now, if they're going to grow, they have to. So thanks for everybody being here.
Thank you.
I'm going to be on a trip for the next couple weeks, visiting my daughter in Europe and traveling with my whole family. So that's a milestone for me. We're going to celebrate my wife's 60th birthday. My kids have planned everything, and so I couldn't be happier. I'll be back to work refreshed, rested for April. So I look forward to working with everybody, any dealers out there. My Maureen Sonoto, can handle anything that you need, or emails on all of my stuff, but I'm back and ready to work for April. And I look forward to helping dealers thrive, as Michael says, as Larry says, and my brother in training, Michael Larkin, Orville or Wilbur or the Wright brothers or whatever we're doing. Thank you for your years. We put in a lot of work over the last few years, and now we're ready. And now it's no stress. Do it the way that we intended. Listen to what our rules are. Follow it, and you'll be successful in your market. So I'm excited, and thank you for everybody. I love the guys on my team. And Michael, we go back 1997. Michael saw me, and people didn't want me to have that job, and he fought for me. So thank you, and I couldn't be happier about that. So
Lonely at the top.
Mr. Larkin, any words, my brother, before we roll on?
Yeah, it's the weekend of St. Patrick's Day. Don't drink too much, okay?
There you go.
Everybody stay healthy.
Yeah,
and,
as well.
We look forward to seeing you all. Good selling. Do the right thing.
Thank you. Take good care. Thanks, gentlemen.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye now.